Hi there. In a world where nothing is certain, that means anything is possible, right? If you want to fulfill your dreams and desires, you are in the right place. You absolutely can have a life of happiness. Everyone deserves an abundance of love, laughter, success, health, and wealth. I'm Tara Chadzakis, and you're listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. The show that brings you meditation, mindset, and motivation. So start by giving yourself permission to be awesome. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi, and welcome to this episode of Happy, Inspired, Motivated. Today I have with me Peggy Bell, who is a retired educator with over 40 years experience of teaching. She's also a best-selling author and a speaker too. Now, after Peggy retired, she wanted to do a little bit more with her life, so she became a midlife transition coach who specializes in helping women in midlife who are ready to transition past the grief and loss from a widowhood or a divorce, and to replace these feelings of loss with renewed joy and purpose. Peggy was also a widow herself, so she knows firsthand the pain of actually losing somebody that she loved, her spouse. And it's through this that she created an online support group for widows, and then she wrote her book called Life After Loss for Widows, Lifting the Veil of Grief. Now, Peggy has lots to share with us today, so I'll quickly introduce you to her. Hi there, Peggy. How are you today?
I'm great, Tara. Thank you.
Good. And how are you finding your Tuesday morning? It's quite early over there. It's 9:30 and 3:30 here, so you're just getting started.
Just getting the day started. Yeah, off to another busy day.
And what kind of morning routine do you have, Peggy?
The first thing I do is get up and I have gratitude. So I start with a grateful heart every morning, and that always sets the tone for the day. And then I usually do a to-do list the night before, so I know what I'm going to be working on. So I'm working on getting a book finished by the end of the year. So that's one of my big things today that I'm
Wow,
going to be
exciting.
working on.
So that's going to be book number
Yes.
2, isn't it? Because you've already got one book published.
Actually, it's book number 6.
Oh,
but
okay.
The other when I started, I was doing children's books and young adult. And
Okay.
and I've done I've done a teacher gift book, and I've done another one on how to know if teaching is for you. That's when I was still teaching before I retired. But my first nonfiction book was for widows, and now this is my second nonfiction.
So is this for widows as well, this new book?
This one is actually for just anybody in midlife, making the best of your midlife age.
Okay.
And the name of it is Midlife Season to Perfection.
Perfect. That ties in quite well with your so it's your believe in new possibilities. What's the word I'm looking for? Kind of mantra that you live by?
Yes, that anything's possible, that you can go for it. We shouldn't let age or anything hinder us from going after what we want. I started my business at 60 after I retired. So, there's no such thing as I think as being too old.
No, definitely not. Did you ever think that you would do something like this? When you retired, why did you think, oh, actually, I might start my own business?
I couldn't wait to retire because I was growing weary of teaching after 40 years. And I kept counting down the days. After I retired, I just felt like there has to be more than what I'm doing. And I just felt this calling that, there was still more to do. And it was just dreams that I had of working with adults and trying to change their lives. And after losing my husband, back in 2009, it totally changed me. It was like I felt this calling that I had to be there to help people who were trying to get through this loss. And so I just felt like that was a deeper calling. And then when I started writing the book for widows, which was after I retired, I came across coaching and realized what that was all about. It just tied in with me having been a teacher, that I could still do some form of teaching, but this time for adults, which I wanted to do anyway. So it just all worked out.
Yeah. So you started specializing in helping ladies who, well, I presume is it just ladies you work with, or is it men and women? Is it mainly ladies?
I work with women in midlife who trying to transition from loss. So it could be
Yeah.
from divorce or widowhood or
Okay.
maybe losing a job, just wanting to start over and transition in this time of their life in midlife.
Okay. And how did you work through this yourself? Did you have a coach as well at the time, or did you find your own strategies that helped?
I didn't, in fact, I didn't even have family that lived near me because we were living in Texas and they were all in another state. My friends were all teachers, so they were working during the day.
Yeah.
So I just had to kind of figure it out. And that's what the book was about for widows that I wrote. It was like what I went through, what worked for me, what didn't, what I felt, so that just so that they could have something to realize they aren't alone, and what they're feeling. It's what they're feeling, everybody feels.
And you started a Facebook group to help women during this time
I
to sort of
did.
support them, didn't you? Okay.
Right. And I still have that. And it's the same title as the book. And I go in about every week to do a live video, live Facebook Live, and just kind of give them pointers on, because some of them are coming in or just brand new to widowhood and they're deep in their grief. So it's a support system for people that have beyond where they are. They could, support them, let them know that this is how it worked for me, or yes, this
Yeah.
is normal, or so it's a great thing.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of support really for people who are going through such a loss. For example, being a widow, it's a lot of people think you've just got to. It's not just grieving the loss of a spouse, is it? It's also a brand new life that you have to come to terms with. It's not just the death. It's a
Exactly.
complete upheaval of your life, isn't it?
It affects every part because even your social circle where you were always couples doing everything, suddenly you don't have your spouse with you. And
Yeah.
friends sometimes feel awkward because, they don't know what to say. And people are there right at the beginning, but then they have their own lives and you're just kind of left, okay, where do I go? What do I do? Because your
Yeah.
identity is almost changed because you went from being somebody's wife and
Yeah.
partner and suddenly you don't have that anymore.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you say, it's your identity. If you've been married for 40 or 40 plus years or whatever, then suddenly being single is a huge thing. I mean, it's
And if it
reinventing
happens
yourself.
suddenly, yes, then your finances suddenly has taken a big
Yeah, of
loss that you
course.
weren't expecting. And it just affects all areas of your life. I remember the first time I had a problem in the bathroom with plumbing, and it was like, okay, what do I do? It was always my husband that took care
Yeah.
of things like that. And I even write about that in the book. The first time I had to grab a wrench and go fix something in the commode, I did it, and I was real proud of it. But it was like a panic at first. What
Mm.
do I do now? It's all on me.
It is. It's you suddenly you have responsibility for everything. That's quite scary,
Everything.
actually,
That's
isn't it?
right. Yes.
Crikey, yeah.
And then a lot of times in midlife, your children are, and like in my case, my older daughter was getting married in 4 months. My younger daughter was leaving for college in 2 days. And so I had emptiness at the same time that I had, you know, uh,
Wow.
widowhood that I
Yeah.
was going through. And so, and this is common for women at that age, that you're facing all these things.
Mm. Yes, I have three daughters and they all live at home with me still. But I cannot imagine what it's going to be like when they leave home. Crikey, I'm going to be a
Yes, it's
terrible empty
quite a
nester.
difference. Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's huge, isn't it? I mean, I'm
It
used to
was,
them being there all the time.
yes.
If
The
you have a big,
silence was just, that's what got to me.
yes. Yeah, when you're
It
used
was
to
just,
chatter
yeah,
and even
just,
when they're fighting.
yes. You come home and there's nothing. It's like, because it was just a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's why I felt it was my calling to help widows, because it was, and even women in divorce, they go through grief, a type of grief also, and they're having
Yeah.
to adjust to a new life as well. So My daughter went through a very ugly divorce, and she felt a lot of the same things that I felt, for a different reason, but she had those same emotions. And so it's grief also.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, what are the a couple of things that really helped you get through that time? So if you were giving a sort of like some advice to somebody, what would you suggest would be really helpful for them?
I found that if I took my mind and placed it on something else, I started volunteering for things. I just started putting myself where I was more concerned with other people than myself. Then I found that the days went by faster, and before I knew it, it was the end of the day, and I had gotten through another day. And each day starts to get a little better and a little better. It's a process. It's going to take a while, but you do eventually come through it. That's the good part about it. But I found just concentrating and putting my efforts outside of myself was a big help.
Hmm. And taking one day at a time, isn't it? Like you said,
That's
if you're trying to tackle the whole week ahead, it's
oh
just step
yeah,
by step. Is
it's too much to concentrate on, because you
Yeah.
have, I call them grief eruptions, where you can be fine and all of a sudden you hear a song or something, a scent of a cologne that he used to wear or something, and it kind of just sets you back. And
Hmm.
so um, at the beginning, I just think you have to take it one day at a time, even 1 hour at a time if you have to. Everybody's different in how they grieve.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like you say, it's I mean, everyone's different, but there are certain strategies, I guess, that people can adapt to them to their individual circumstances, aren't there?
Right, right. And that's what, for me, I relied on my faith a lot to help me get through it. That was one of the things. And then the people in my church was a good support group for me. So it just all, depends on you and your personality and who you feel like would be a good support system for you.
Yeah. And that's the kind of support that you give in the group, that you've got for ladies, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And
You also,
I
sorry,
just
carry
did
on.
a book study. Actually, I'm sorry. I just did a book study last month on that book, and it was amazing that some of the women. It was almost a year, and they said it was the first time. Some of them said it was the first time they had ever spoken to anybody about it, because there was nobody for them to reach out to, and they felt it was so therapeutic to be able to, do it through Zoom, where they could speak back and forth to each other about what they were each going through,
Yeah.
um, because they had never really had anybody to talk to about it, because none of their friends had been widowed before. So yeah, talking to people,
Mm.
it helps, because it makes you realize you're just not alone.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're sharing things, if you're sharing feelings that you're going through, or a situation that you're going through, it's so much easier to talk to somebody who's been through it themselves, isn't it?
Yes, and gets it, because it's a, I've lost my mother, and I've lost family members, but it's so different when you lose a spouse, because
Mm.
it's you've lived all those years together, and you've made decisions together, and suddenly that's gone.
Okay. So on a brighter note, so how do you help these amazing women? How do they come out the other side after they've been with you for a while?
When they have to know that they're ready. They have to say, okay, I've been through this. I'm ready to move on. And because grief, it's not a 1 year and it's over, or 6 months and it's over. It's different for everybody. So when
Yeah.
they feel like they're ready, then we will look and see what's their passion, what's their purpose. What is it that if you could do it every day, this is what you would like to do? What is it that you always wanted to do but never got to do? We start assessing that.
Hmm.
Their biggest thing for most of them is fear. They're afraid because of the unknown. They're afraid of, they've just been hurt so bad that they're afraid to go into something and then it's going to not work out, and you know hurt
Yeah.
again. So we look at their belief system, we work on their self-doubt, we work on their self-confidence, their inner critic, trying to tame that, so that that inner critic is not always talking that negative talk to them. And we just start working from there. We set goals for what they want, and we take one part at a time.
Yeah, because like you say, if they're used to doing everything with a partner, like I said, even decision making is a joint effort. So to do something, stepping out of a comfort zone by themselves and not having somebody in the background going, yes, I believe in you, yes, you can do it, is
Right.
very difficult, and it's probably very, very
It
scary as
is.
well. Yeah.
And so that's why we work on the transition. And I have something that I call the Bell method. It just so happened to work out with my last name. But we work, the B is believe, the E is evolve, the L love yourself, and then the other L live your purpose. So we take each part, starting with getting a growth mindset and getting rid of those limiting beliefs, and then we work from there all the way to the part where they're taking action on their goals.
Excellent. So what kind of new goals have your ladies created in their lives?
For some, and it just depends, some went back to school. I've had one that started her own business. She wanted to go into coaching herself, but for in the health division. I had another one who decided she was going to sell jewelry, and just whatever it is that one was really great with art, and so she's starting to draw and sell some of her paintings. So
Nice.
it's things that they wanted to do, but they put on the back burner all the years they were being a parent and a wife. And it was one of those things I'll get back to maybe. Well, now's the time you can do that. And so just
Yeah.
different what's in it for everybody, their own interest.
Yeah, because there are, a lot of people do. They get the job that will create enough income for them to support their family rather than doing the thing that they actually want to do. And when they get
That
to the
they love, that's
yeah,
correct.
exactly. And when they get to the time when maybe their children have left home, then they've got a bit more freedom to look at what they're doing and decide, is this what I want to do with the next 30, 40 years of my life? Quite
Right.
often it's no.
So, yeah, correct. So, the one that going back to school, for instance, she always wanted to go to school, and she never did because of her children growing up. They never could afford it, and so now's the time to go and do it. Go ahead and get started. So that's what she's doing.
Wow, that's pretty scary, isn't it? Going back to school. I don't know if I'd
Yep.
want to do that myself.
So, to each his own.
Yeah. It's a big step though, isn't it? Because you're going to be in an environment where there's lots of younger people. It's
Yeah,
one thing to set up your
yeah.
own business, something like that, but to actually be in an environment that's predominantly, 18 to 25-year-olds is a big step. It's very, very
Well, the
brave.
thing now, she's doing a lot. Most of it is online, so she's taking online courses. So it's a little bit different than having to go sit in the classroom in
Yeah.
person with a lot younger people. It's not as, excuse me, intimidating, I guess.
No, that's true. Yeah. I mean, a lot of universities and stuff are doing things online now anyway, aren't they? Because of the situation and
Yes,
keeping people safe and stuff like that. Perfect.
yes,
Okay, so
most of
what
them
kind
are.
of help can you give? Let's say somebody was listening to this and they're feeling a little bit lost, lonely, in a bit of a rut or broken, something like
I
that. How can you help them?
Yes, I actually would love to give all of your viewers. I have what's called 7 days of sisterhood support, and it's 7 days of free gifts, digital gifts. Some are guides. One is a mini workbook to get them through the process of where they want to go, what may be holding them back. And if they're interested in that, they can just email me at peggybellcoaching@gmail.com.
Okay.
And from there, they can write 7 days in the subject line, and I'll get them the link to get started, and they'll receive one every day for 7 days. Um, and I think that will help them.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
I
Yeah.
would love to do that.
Yeah. It's not just one, it's not a bulk. Here's everything and read it. If you take it in steps,
Right.
it's a little bit easier, isn't it? That's a
Yeah. So
yeah.
one's like I said, one's a mini workbook to work through the one thing stopping you from reaching your goals. One is finding your renewed joy and purpose after loss. And there's several things. I really think it's going to help them.
Yeah, yeah, that's
And
great.
also my book, if anybody's listening that's a widow or knows somebody, the name of it is A Life After Loss for Widows, Lifting the Veil of Grief. or you can just go on Amazon and put my name in, Peggy Bell, and it'll come up.
I'll put that in the notes as well anyway, the name of the book, so that'd be great.
Okay.
So people have got it there just in case they missed it there. Okay, Peggy, thank you so much for joining me today. You've given my listeners a lot to think about and a lot of information and a lot of wisdom as well. It was really good. Thank you.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Take care, Peggy.
Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. I'll be back next week bringing more meditation, mindset, and motivation for your happy and successful life. To find out more about our community, go to tarachatzakis.com/happy, inspired, motivated.